Hi there, my name is Taylor. I'm 32-year-old student at the Dalhousie Schulich School of Law in Halifax, and I've had epilepsy for almost 10 years now. I was diagnosed when I was 23. I was actually diagnosed with a brain tumor after experiencing some symptoms of seizures, and nobody knew what it was, and then found out it was a brain tumor, and then went right in, had surgery to remove that, and since then it's been very, very heavy epilepsy. Okay, so I was diagnosed when I was 23 after a few years of having seizures and not nobody knowing what they were. I mean, I didn't even know what they were. And then I was diagnosed with a brain tumor and had brain surgery not long after they diagnosed me to get that out. It was full resection, no issues there, except it really, really amplified everything that I was dealing with, to the point where I was going to hospitals quite frequently. I would wake up there. I mean, at one point, I apparently had a seizure in the morning, getting ready to go to work, fell downstairs. About 5 minutes later, paramedics came. About 5 minutes down the road, I actually had another seizure and cardiac arrest. And then when they brought me to the hospital, instead of bringing me right into neuro or ICU or whatever, they brought me to cardiac. Heart stopped again there. Luckily, there was a cardiac surgeon right there. Like I said, after the surgery, things got bad. I had to take 2 years off of school, trying to get it sorted. Because I would have clusters where there would be 3 in 15 minutes or, 5 or 6 in a few hours. And for me, nocturnal, they were happening at night or early in the morning. Eventually, things were under control enough where I made it back to school, finished my undergrad, and then I applied for law school and for my master's, and I chose my master's. Turned down law school, went to the Netherlands for my master's, and through that time was still having seizures, occasionally waking up in a hospital. During my studies when I was in the Netherlands, it got bad. I was having issues constantly, so I had to stop, not go any further, come back to Canada, and I began a process with the epilepsy clinic in Vancouver, where the end goal, almost 2 years ago now, in the end of January 2024, I had my right temporal lobe removed, most of it, because when they went in to remove the tumor, the scar tissue, like I said, amplified the epilepsy and was making the seizures more frequent and more intense. So by going in and cutting that all out, they sort of took the seizure factory in there, just took it out. And it's been good because, like I said, January 31st, 2024 is when I had the surgery, and I haven't had a seizure since. And before that, I was for the 6 months or so before the surgery, I was waking up to a major seizure, like someone telling me I had one, or waking up, why am I in a hospital or an ambulance? Once a month, if not more frequent. And I was having little seizures sort of every night. So it was, tough to function. And having had the corrective surgery, fixed it, it's amazing. It's such a lengthy and sort of intense process to go through because I had to get referred to an epileptologist at the Vancouver Epilepsy Center. And that took a while. That actually ended up happening because I had a seizure, ended up in the hospital, and there's something called SUDEP, which is sudden unexpected death in epilepsy. And having nocturnal epilepsy and having had cardiac arrest through epilepsy before, that was a major concern. So I actually got through the wait list very quickly. And then after several appointments, I ended up in Vancouver, and I stayed in something called the Seizure Investigative Unit, where they took me off my meds and they hooked me up to an EEG, and they basically forced me to have seizures. And it took a while. They took me off my meds. They tried giving me alcohol. I'm not joking. Nurses would come every couple hours with a little shot of vodka, like those little Smirnoff bottles. It took a while, and it was actually sleep deprivation, which is what did it. I think it was 3 or 4. They made me stay up till 3 or 4, and then they'd wake me up every half hour or hour, and then I was up at 7 a.m. And it was in that 3 or so hour span I was asleep when I had a big enough seizure for them to catch. And they were able to confirm it was originating from where they thought it was. And then my neurologist had to present it and like a panel of other epileptologists and neurosurgeons. And I was booked in for surgery. I remember speaking with the neurosurgeon a few days before Christmas. We booked it for the next month. And it was like the first one that he had open, January 31st, 2024. Went in, took it out, and I woke up and was gone like a day after, out of the hospital. With a they were able to go over the same scar and where they took out the tumor. So I've got a sweet scar. I actually ended up getting a tattoo over it. Well, not over it. It's a knife going up against the scar. So it looks like it's cutting it open. I figured, you're legally obligated if you have a major scar to tattoo it day to day. Well, even now that I have been seizure free for 2 years, if I wake up in the morning and my head's a little sore, like I feel like I have a headache or something, my first thought is, did I have a seizure last night? If my tongue's a little sore, like, just not that I bit it or anything, but just a little bit of clenching or something like that, or muscles like down my sides are sore, or even my blanket's a little twisted up, it's not perfectly flat, there's that fear of, oh, did I have another seizure? So that's something I always have to be, cognizant and aware of. Even if it didn't happen, there's that fear that it did happen when, I really shouldn't be thinking that way, but it was small enough where it brought that fear in. And then there's also just making sure I take my medication every morning, every night, and I'm consistent with the time. It doesn't have to be exact, but they need to be relatively the same time. And I need to, because like, if I don't take them, seizures can happen. And it has happened because I forgot to take my meds and I've had seizures. There's a constant fear of that. And then there's also, it's not just me, it's my family or friends or partners, whatever. When I've woken up in an ambulance or to someone over me or in a hospital or whatever, I'm always like, okay, who is around? Like it was like my mom, my brother, my dad, partner, friend, professor in class. There's always that, okay, who is the person who witnessed me having it and had to call? Because, I have the seizures, whatever. It's going to be scary for them to witness, especially if they haven't seen it before. So there's not just my own concern. There's always that I wake up and go, like, it does impact other people close to me and it sucks. I remember one time I was just, like I said, it's rare that they happen during the day. Remember one time I was with a friend of mine and we were walking to another friend of ours' house, and we were just walking down beside the canal, and he happened to be on the side of the canal, and I had a seizure and dropped down, and he said if I was on the inside, he's like, you probably would have went right into the water. But he'd never seen it before. He knew I had epilepsy and he knew that I've had seizures. Like he'd heard about them, like I had one last night or whatever, but he'd never witnessed one. Like I felt bad because I was scary for him and he like didn't know what was going on. Like he panicked. But luckily it means like I have friends close enough who were there for me, because like not having people near me, I don't know if I've had a seizure. Like there are times when I'm certain I've had a seizure. Like I've woken up in the morning and I'm like, I definitely had a seizure, but I don't know. So it's really scary when you wake up feeling a little off and you're like, did I have a seizure? I don't know. Not really negative stigma I haven't faced, but there's misconceptions. So a lot of people seem to think flashing lights and dropping to the floor and shaking, and then, you're fine. You're fine until the next event. But epilepsy isn't just seizures. It stays with you. Like it's 24/7. It's always there and it's always impacting me. Like not only like the physical impacts, but like a fear. Like, can I do this? Like, what if I have a seizure? So a lot of people I don't think realize it's more than just a seizure. I guess one misconception is that people don't realize epilepsy is not just the seizure. It's more than that. And people have different triggers, like personally, stress, physical and emotional, and tiredness. But some people are photosensitive, very rare, but everyone seems to think that's what it means to have epilepsy. You see flashing lights and you have a seizure. Well, medications are, for me, they've been difficult because I have something called refractory epilepsy or drug resistant epilepsy. So for me, medications didn't really do anything. Like I've tried 5 different types of epilepsy medication. I'm actually currently on 3. And if you've tried 2 full trials of 2, you're considered drug resistant. And I'm on 3 currently. So medications for me, not really help, but surgery is. 2 years ago, on January 31st, 2024, I had a right temporal lobectomy, meaning they went in and removed the source of my seizures, which is most of my right temporal lobe and part of my hippocampus. So they went in and cut it out, and I've been seizure-free since. I'm still on medications, and the medications are allowing me to stay seizure-free. So it took some work to get the medications to work for me, but they do now, and I love it. I mean, they've got their own side effects, but the fact that they keep me seizure-free is the best. So I do think that funding epilepsy research is very important, not just on the medical side, in terms of treatment like surgery, or the pharmaceutical side, getting people on the right meds or getting meds that can help control, but also on awareness. Like funding epilepsy awareness is huge because a lot of people don't realize that they have epilepsy because it doesn't look like what they expect a seizure to look like. They just think, they're tired, they had a bad night every once in a while, but actually they had a seizure at night. Or they think they have trouble focusing in class or at work because they think they're daydreaming, but actually just having a small seizure. It's not just the research and funding on pharmaceuticals, making sure people are on the right meds or that the meds will actually work. I think funding research for epilepsy is important, helping develop new pharmaceuticals, new medication that'll help people, new treatments like surgery, going in and taking out part of my brain has allowed the meds that they've also put a lot of research into keeping me from having seizures for now 2 years. But also funding for awareness is very important. A lot of seizures are not easily detectable. If they're happening at night and you don't have someone witnessing it, oh, I just had a really bad night. That's why I feel off this morning. Or I have trouble focusing at work or in school and I'm always tired and something's wrong. But it's actually could be a seizure. Or just straight up awareness in terms of what other people who have seizures or have epilepsy are dealing with, because you never know when you can see someone having a seizure. You don't know what to do if you see someone having a seizure. I wish more people knew that epilepsy was not just seizures. It's a lot more than having seizures, and it's not flashing lights, drop to the ground, shake, come to, and you're fine until the next flashing lights. It's a lot more than that. It stays with you all the time in terms of like how it's impacting you, but also on the mental side. Who was around me when I had a seizure? Or I'm on the other side of the country from my family. I know they worry about me. Or when I moved across the world for my master's, I know they were worried about me. So I kept a lot of what was going on from them. Like I'm close with my mom, my brother, my dad. They know a lot. But when I was in the Netherlands, I didn't tell them as much because I knew it was going to impact them. So I guess I wish more people knew that it just didn't start and end with a seizure. And that impacts more than just whoever is having the seizure.